Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Esports Analysis. Today we're hopping back on board with Formal as he, Arcity's Envoy, SCUMP, and Gunless from the Chicago Huntsmen take on Assault, ROKKR, Silly, Asim, and Alex from the Minnesota ROKKR. Before we go ahead and get into this one, this is probably the third or fourth ROKKR video that I went ahead and broken down on my channel. I really like watching them play. ROKKR is super good at holding down spawns, and they usually have pretty pesky SMG play in hills, so look forward to that. And also, I'll say one other thing. I think Minnesota has the best branding. I know the last time we covered them, I said the same thing, but that purple and the black and the Viking helmet and all that stuff, it's just super cool. But with all of that said, as we go ahead and get into the strategy here, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there's a mini-map. Right now, they're battling over the first hardpoint. So in the first hardpoint, that one is okay, I guess, in terms of trying to stack up time. What you really want to do is flip spawns. So if you're watching Formal right here, you'll probably see that he's not really paying attention to the hill. And what he was trying to do is he was trying to lock down that green spawn in the bottom right-hand corner mini-map. So right now they went ahead and spawned here, but they do end up getting flipped. So you'll see Formal gets a kill here, got our Rex there in back of the spawn, and then he goes for another one and he ends up falling. So he gets one or two wounded, and then they spawn behind him at that back construction building, and that's going to be all it takes for them to spawn out. So even though right now, in terms of that first hill, they had a 38 to 15 lead somewhere in there, the majority of this second hill is going to end up going to Minnesota just because they're in hill and they're holding down spawns and they're trapping Chicago over on this ammo side. I do want to go ahead and point out that for whatever reason, I don't know, this feels like old school Call of Duty, but I'm a massive fan of Rammaza, especially when you're playing Hardpoint on it. So for example, spawns on the second hill are super important because if you get this ammo spawn kind of where Formal is at right now, it is unbelievably hard to go ahead and break that choke point. So you can either go ahead and try to rush through the front, so flood hill through the front of that hill, or you can try to go through middle, kind of where platform is, so top platform where Formal just died and underneath them, and there's sandbags right there. So there's a massive head glitch for whoever has control of the spawns and the hard point. So you can see just on that second hard point alone, we went from, it was like 38 to 15, and now they're down 42 to 55. Now with that said, they do end up having spawns for this next hill. So as we get into the third hard point here, where Formal just spawned, that's where you want to be because Barbershop is where the hard point is, so it's that building that's just to the right of where Formal's looking. I know we're not really looking at it. Formal trying to hold down this left flank. He ends up dying, and this is going to be the beginning of the end of their stronghold for this third hard point. Now, I do want to point out that while Formal had control of that left side, that's not where you want to be. You don't want to be in the back. You want to be pushed up onto that head glitch. So that broken building head glitch, if you go all the way towards the front right here, so right where Formal's at right there to the right of him, that head glitch, that's where you want to be pushed up. So since he was back a little bit further, what that allowed is it allowed Minnesota to throw that smoke, and then they were able to rush through the smoke. Formal couldn't see who he was shooting, and then he ended up going down. So even though they had that perfectly set up, they weren't able to hold down those spawns, and they've actually went ahead and they just kind of gave up on it. So they spawned out a little bit, and then they gave up on it, and then now they went ahead and they set up spawns for the next one. So while they were in position for that third hard point to lock down all 60 seconds, they got pushed out a little bit, but they went ahead, rather than foolishly trying to regain control of that hard point, when they spawned out, they made the conscious decision, the right decision, to go ahead and rotate over to the back side so that as it gets to this construction building, they have spawns and they have control of the hard point, and now they can go ahead and build out that lead a little bit. As we go ahead and watch the last 30 seconds or so of this hill, ROKKR and Assault both get a kill up top, but it's not going to affect them too much, so they are able to recover. When you're watching this, you want to have somebody watching over middle, which is where Formal was, and then you want to go ahead and you want to have a couple people pushed up in that top catwalk area. So watching the catwalk, if you can push up into rugs, that would be great, because you can see now that there are about 10 seconds left and this hill is going to go ahead and rotate. So if you have a couple people pushed up into that top rugs area, they can go ahead and they can push through that Barbershop hill and they can capture spawns for this next hard point, which is back ruins. Now again, I know I pointed this out earlier when I was talking about how much I like this map, but Chicago had total control of that fourth hill, and then now as we go ahead and we rotate into the fifth hill, you can see that Minnesota is set up for the fifth hill, and that's just how Hardpoint should really work. There are some maps in this game where you want to hold down control of one side of the map for both the first, second, and the third hill. So some of them, it just doesn't ping pong back and forth very much in terms of the strategy and what side of the map you want to hold down. Also, Formal goes pretty huge right there, capturing control of this back hardpoint. But I just like how this one, it's kind of like a ping pong game. It just goes back and forth. The hills go back and forth. So if you have one side of the map locked down, that's only going to guarantee you about half of the points. So you do have to win over spawns. You do have to break spawns so that you can gain control of the hill. As you can see right now, we're in that 5th hill. It's a 125 to 101 lead. So this one is pretty close as we go ahead and we rotate into the second set of hard points. Speaking of which, as we go ahead and rotate back into the first hard point, you're going to see Chicago goes ahead and they push out back construction, and they do gain that spawn over. So they're going to have spawns as they go ahead and rotate into the first hard point, which is where you want to be for that second hard point. Massive kills there by Formal as he kills the anchor from the other team as they're trying to rotate. And as we go ahead and enter this second set of rotations, this is usually where I go ahead and throw you guys into a listen in. I think it's super important that you're able to listen to their communication so you can tell exactly what they're talking about as they go ahead and go back through the second set of hard points where we've already talked about the strategies and the spawns and where you want to be. So with that, without further ado, let's go ahead, let's get a peek into what Chicago's talking about as we go through these next sets of hard points.
I'm pushing up front, I'm pushing up front, I'm pushing up front.
Alex, hold on me. I have time. You guys can play sandbags and dub. You can't be serious.
I have front push out, I have front push out.
2 subs, Ace and Alex.
Play the back together. I have all front push out, guys. I have all front push out. You guys are good.
I'm playing back.
Stairs, stairs.
I have time, I'm helping Matt front then.
I'm still pushed out front. You're good.
Watching your back alley. Yeah,
window, one shot, got our X, jumped out, window jumped out.
Adam. One working
all the back.
right
You can lead this. You can talk. You can lead this.
I actually like this setup.
I got one more.
I ran back.
Sandbags. Yo, 2 sandbags.
Going back.
Try to pick up on a minute if you guys spawn. I'm meaning sandbags.
Yeah, one pitching. Same. Oh my god, he got me.
He's dead. He's dead.
Side door repping.
My door dead.
How do I?
Sandbags again. Sandbags again. What the fuck are these guys doing?
Front. Assault's one shot front. Assault is one shot front coming right now.
Just let him come in.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you guys are good.
Flash door.
I'm gonna start working for top rugs, guys. Yeah, I'm going rugs already.
Yeah.
One is top rugs.
By
One
the
is top
way,
rugs.
Dylan, every single time when we're like breaking from the hill from front, always do that.
Wait,
yeah. What are broken.
Top rugs, then.
Oh, you just let him come in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I'm saying like when we're breaking up the side end.
Top rugs again. Ace him. Top rugs. Ace him. He's climbed up on me. Top rugs. Ace him. He has Daddy Pop too. Top rugs.
Yeah, top rugs got
I'm playing for that guy again.
Go top rugs.
He's in the chow.
I'm gonna hit right for you guys.
Go top there.
One's gonna be right here.
I'm gonna help you
Inside
right.
close to Ken. 2 seconds.
Yeah. One is. Yeah, he's on that. Archetti. Archetti dead. Got him. Good job.
I'm gonna go mid, Pierce. You wanna hit right?
Top rugs. Top rugs.
One mid.
Good.
Hill dead. Hill dead.
I think I spawned here. I'm gonna go ladder. I'm going ladder. You have ladder? You have ladder?
I'm going to get right.
No, he ran away.
One's pitching right now. Looks
Shout
like.
out of hill.
Shooter, one he'll child me.
They're spawning back
here.
here.
Front of hill. One hitter rugs, 2 hitter.
I'm in the cell.
Bottom hookah. It's Ace him.
Back right, guys. Back right. Got
I don't see him. I got Ace him. Good call.
One's gonna go left.
Holding right.
Okay, you're holding right.
Yeah,
I'll pick up.
Front hill repping.
Absolute pillars.
Give him the sub.
Tree door. That's the closest guy. It's closest.
Top rugs, guys. Gonna go top rugs.
I spawned right.
Top rugs. One more top rugs.
Yeah, top rugs.
One more. Bottom middle.
Outer cat, guys.
I think dirt. I'm mid two. You guys gonna do that outer?
He's top cat.
I'm Zig.
Bottom middle.
Yo, he's my side.
Drop down dirt.
One tree door.
I have your pinch there.
Yo, and one
Tree door.
I literally shot one bullet.
Bottom middle me.
They're in the back.
Yeah, one front. We spawned out far.
Front door.
Front door.
Hookah right
That's
now.
probably me.
Front door. Ace him.
He's
rugs.
Going third.
I can't be pushed up that far.
Pick up cat. Cat went Zig.
Zig.
We're going top pie right now.
One middle.
Another one cat.
Front door dead.
Cat.
Cat dead.
Good job. Gonna be dirt. Gonna be dirt.
What the servers? Too flat.
All right, guys, so as I go ahead and hop back on board with you, Chicago is actually going to end up winning off of this hill. They only need about half the points that are left, and they do end up clutching up. Somebody comes in, and they contest right now, but they do end up getting that kill, and then they end up winning off of this hill with just a couple seconds to spare. So if you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I cannot wait for the CDL matches to come out. They come out in just a little over 3 weeks, so about 3 weeks away from that launch weekend in Minnesota. I'm going to be breaking down all those games. I'm going to be putting out multiple videos a day covering all of the action and the reasons why people won. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to leave a like before you head on your way. And with that, I will catch you in the next one. We'll see you.